Hello again, welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on the ISF and mainly on the suspension of the ISF. This has always been a major issue for me. My opinion is these are just way too stiff. It handles brilliantly, but for long journeys it's a complete pain. It crashes on every pothole and every little bump on the road, so I've decided to go with a different solution. And here's the solution, or I hope it's the solution: coilovers. Now it's already got coilovers on, that's what Lexus fit as standard, but you can't adjust them. Now these are Japanese ones by a company called Tein, quite reasonably priced. The kit for the whole front and back, so that's springs and shockers combined, is about £740. These are made in Yokohama. These are what they call Tein Flex Zs or Flex Zs. They're kind of almost the top of their range, and these ones are made in Yokohama, so supposedly better quality. Okay, so what's in the box? So we have two coilovers for the front, which have a like 3-bolt, and the bit in the middle is for adjusting. You can it comes with like a little Allen key adjuster, so you can adjust the hardness or softness. The springs are slightly softer, not by much, compared to the original Lexus setup, and then there are rings for adjusting like ride height and stuff like that. And these are the back ones. Again, 3 bolts at the top and an adjuster in the middle, and then locking rings. And you get spanners for this, they send you that in the kit, and a single bolt thing in the bottom bush. So on with the fitting. Okay, so to change the rear shocks I need to get access to them, which means removing all of this. So these are the side covers, so that's the left hand side. So you can see this is like the inside of the boot, and that's where the shocker is, behind there. So I've taken these out, and it was much easier than I thought it was going to be fair. I would advise anyone to get hold of one of these. You get them in trim kits. It's just easier to get the clips out with these. It's nigh impossible for you to not break them otherwise. And you need to take out these things, these little tie downs. So these look like that, and there's one there, and also one at the back here. This back one holds the back trim piece in place, that holds where the boot shuts into. So there's this cover piece here which you need to get loose. That's held down by that one, and the inner liner is held down by this one at the front. So these need to come out on both sides. There are then little plastic clips, give you an example, that look like this. So they look quite strange on the front, and they're all ribbed. Let me put it on there on the white so you can see. So they're ribbed, and that's all that holds them in. It's kind of the ribbiness. So there's one here. There's one hidden behind where the boot arm is. So yeah, this is on Velcro here. Look, there's little bits of Velcro behind here. And there's a tab there. One goes in there, one there, and there's one here where my finger is. This piece that fits in the back here, you do have to lift it up, but you don't have to remove it, because all of this now pulls out from behind this top piece. So once you've got these back bits done, the whole thing pulls out, both sides, easy as out. And now there's the back shocker and the 3 nuts that we have to get off. The rear ones are quite simple. There's just these 3, and then I think there's one at the bottom to undo. The front's a bit more complicated. We're going to have to split some joints there, but I'll show you that when we get to it. Right, I've brought the car around the side of the house. The front driveway is like Kilimanjaro, so not very level. And the first thing we need to do is, with a handy piece of card, we need to write down the heights of all the wheel arches all the way around the car, so we've got a baseline, so when we put the shockers on we know if the car is dropped or raised, and we can adjust as it suits. So I'm going to go around now and measure from the ground to the top of the wheel arch and then write them on this piece of card. Well, done the measuring, and you can see from the scores on the door, so these are the front two, 69 on the left hand side, 69.8 on the right, and on the rear 66 on one side, 65.5 on the other. So even Lexus can't get it all the same, but at least when we put the new ones on we'll kind of know where we are and see if we need to adjust any of the heights. It does actually say on the shockers that the height has been set by the factory. So Tein have decided how high my car should be. Well, we'll see about that. Okay, well, on with the next step. Okay, so I've got the first wheel off, and you can see now what the original situation is. We've got a nice big nut here which will have to come out. There are 3 at the top. Here's the original Lexus coilover, which is made by Tokico, and they do mention it in the instructions that you may have to trim this wheel liner, which is only like some kind of, well, I don't know what it's made of, to be honest, cardboardy type material. So we may have to neatly trim with the Stanley in case that is in contact with the spring, because obviously on the new one the spring is here at the top rather than here, which is where the body of the shock is. Right, here we go. I've got another jack, a little baby one, just holding the suspension arm. Of course, this bolt here, which is 19mm, well, obviously when we try and get this out, this spring is going to want to push down on the arm, and that could be quite dangerous. So I'm supporting the weight there. Hopefully we can get the bolt out without this moving, and then we can slowly lower the jack under like control conditions, and then when this is loose I can undo the top nuts and we can take it out. Right, I've had a rethink, and the plan now is to leave this bolt in. This is loose, but obviously still tight because it's got the pressure of the spring on, and I'm going to undo the bolts at the top. Now they're all loose, so I'm just now going to, they've still got the nut on, and I'm going to slowly lower the jack, and then hopefully that'll take the pressure off the spring. Right, so that's been held on the nuts at the top now, I would imagine. So I'm going to just tighten that up again. So it's just took the weight on the arm, and then I'll take the nuts off the top. Well, I got it out, and it was a proper battle. So first of all, where my finger is the bolt. It's a 19mm, and it connects this arm to the bottom of the hub with the brake disc on. So you take that out, and then it still wasn't free, so I took the now what's this called, the sway bar linkage out. There's a pin there. I took that out, still wouldn't move. So I tried to bash I got a spring compressor on the spring because I thought the spring was maybe pushing too hard on it. That didn't work. So then I tried various variations of jacking this bar up and down, jacking the bottom of the disc hanger up and down, and then I took the lining out, and it's bolted on with 2 bloody great bolts behind the liner. Now believe it or not, Lexus uses 12 bolts, I think it is. These little 10mm nuts like this, there's at least a dozen, and about 3 plastic clips just to hold an arch liner on. It takes forever, and in the process one of them, because it was rusty, snapped clean off from the bodywork, so that one's done forever. So well, that's one less, but all the others are just in the bodywork, and all the thread is exposed to all of the crap in the wheel well as you're driving along. What a stupid design that is, Lexus. Anyway, it's out. I'm gonna put the bolt in for the sway bar because that could be real awkward to get back in. So I'll put that in now, and then I'll get the new shocker, and then we'll see if it even fits. Right, let's have a little recap. We have eventually got it in. The little bolt at the back here, gets it behind the pipe, that's for the sway bar. That's 20 foot-pounds, that one. You really do need to put that one in before you start trying to get this one in, this bottom mount one. And the one I've got, I took out this one under here that connects to the hub. You have to use a jack to jiggle this one up and down to get the bolt in. These aren't tight yet. Let me try and get that picture. Jiggle it to get that in, and then again you have to jiggle around to get this one in. So I've got these in. I've got the original bolts that were fastened to the original shocker just put back in the bodywork. They don't look like they're going to foul on the coilover, so they can stay in there. The top nuts in the boot, I've got a picture, let's have a look. So top one's in the boot, 55 foot-pounds, there's the coilover, 20 pounds on the sway bar link one, 81 foot-pounds for the one on the bottom of the shocker, and 119 foot-pounds for the one that goes into the brake hub. So I'm going to tighten all these up, and then the wheel can go back on and I can have a look at what the height's like. I'm not going to put the liner in until I've got all four done, check all the heights, and then I can tidy things up after that when I'm happy with it. I'll probably have a few drives around to see what it's like suspension wise. Tein suggest, I think it's 8 from hardest on the front and 6 on the back, but we'll see what we end up with, because my plan is to have this slightly softer than it was originally. We tend to go on long trips through Europe, and rock hard suspension is not very conducive to having a good time. So I'm going to put the wheel back on and see how she stands, and then it's all over again on the other side. Well, wheels back on, it's off the jack. I've measured this from here back down to the ground is about 1 centimetre higher than it was on the old one. Now effectively that's the same as the other side, so that's a good sign for me. You know, it's close to where it ought to be. So obviously I won't know what it's like until I've done all four, so I need to do all this again on the other side, so I won't really show you that. I might do an abridged version to show you actually how to do it after the 17 experiments I did to try and find the easiest way, and then we'll do the front ones. Okay, day 2 and side 2. So that side is all done. This side we just need to, I've just loosened these off. These are a 14mm, 55 pounds, so not too tight. Just taking the tightness off them. You know, they're fully on the nuts. These are going to be a bit awkward to tighten up because you ain't going to get a socket on there, so you have to kind of guess. I don't have like a manual spanner torque meter, so I have to guess this one, but at 55, well, you can easily get that by hand. Right, so wheel off, and we'll look at improving on yesterday's performance. Okay, so what did we learn yesterday? Well, the biggest lesson was to take this liner out first, because there's 2 bolts holding the shocker in at the top, which probably made me take more stuff off down below that I didn't need to. So I'm going to take the liner off, undo those 2 bolts, and then we'll see how loose it all is to decide how much we need to disassemble on the lower arms. We may be able to get it out a bit easier. So I'm going to take all the liner out with the 60,000 screws and nuts, and then we'll carry on with the film. So when you do this kind of thing, it's always a good idea to get a container and put all the little nuts and bolts inside that's going to come out, because there's quite a few on this liner, and you don't want to lose them, you know, from just stupidity and rolling off down the driveway or falling in a crack and you never see them again. So, you know, all sorts of things come in plastic containers, and it's a great idea to reuse them rather than just throw them away. So, top tip. Right, so the liner's out. I brought a light with me today. So the liner's out. Obviously it's slightly different this side because this is where the petrol filler cap is, so there's a pipe from that goes into the petrol tank. But the shocker's the same, so we've got 2, I think these were 12s, either side that hold the body of the shocker to the car, as well as the 3 at the top, and then just 1 at the bottom, 19mm at the bottom. You can see the ridiculous selection of nuts, bolts, plugs, plastic doodads that hold the liner in. I still can't believe that Lexus did that, but hey, there you go. So next job is I'm going to take these two 12mm out, and I'm going to loosen off the top 14mm bolts to see how loose it then becomes, and I'll take the bottom 19mm one out and see if we can manhandle it out without having to take any of the rest of the car to pieces. Right, little update. These two bolts are out. The top three are kind of at the top of the thread, so this won't fall out, but it is able to drop. I've undone the nut, so this is the head side. The nut is missing off the other side, but I can't really get this out because obviously the shocker is still pushing on it quite a lot. So I think what I need to do is take, let me see if I can show you it. So at the front of this arm, where's my thumb? There's my thumb. The bolt I've got my thumb on fastens the arm to like the hub carrier and where the brake disc is. So this is a 19mm as well. These are quite tight, the 80 and 119 foot-pounds. So you will have to lean on these a bit, preferably with something long like a torque wrench or a breaker bar. So I'm going to take this one out, put the little jack under the arm to support it, and then I'm going to slowly let the jack off. We can then hopefully get this one out and get the shock out without dismantling anything else. Okay, right, much struggling later. I've taken off the sway bar linky thing, which on this side strangely has got a ride height detector. Why has it got that? It's not like the suspension goes up and down. Oh well, and the ring one on the other side, so that's loose. The arm is quite low now because I've taken out the hub bolt, and we've managed to get this one out that holds the shocker bottom in. That was a bit of a struggle on this one, but this is all loose now and the shock's loose, so that should be able to come out now. I'll take that out and get the new one. Okay, update time. So new shock is in, not fastened in at the top yet. The bottom bolt is in and torqued up to 81 foot-pounds, and we've also put back in the sway bar and height adjuster bolt. Now we just got to finagle that arm over that hole and get the bolt in, which is always a joy, but we have got another jack to help us lift it in place, and then, well, I got the other one back in, so I can't believe this is going to be any harder. So that's the next job. Right, so all the three top bolts are on and torqued up, about 55 pounds per square inch. Now this bottom one, what I've been doing is using the jack to lift the arm up to, let me show you, to get that bottom bolt in this one. Now what I did is, you have to kind of lift the hub with one hand, and I put a screwdriver in here between the arm and the casting of the hub, and you can manoeuvre where the hole is, and then have the bolt like resting on the jack somewhere close, and then lift it up and quickly get it in. Once it's in, you're laughing, you just wiggle the screwdriver on the other side to line it up and push it through, get the nut on, tighten it up. 119 foot-pounds this one, a bit of a hefty one, but still doable because your wheels should be torqued up to 100, 110 foot-pounds, your wheel nuts. So that's just slightly more, so it is easily doable. You don't need windy guns on any of this. Good job really, isn't it? Because I ain't got one. The bottom one definitely won't be in the right position because the car will pull the bolt out of kilter, but you can usually see the metal piece of like the knuckle joint that's in the bottom of the arm. And what you need to do is just put quite a big screwdriver in there to line it up. Failing that, use the same technique, put the screwdriver between the metal of the arm and the metal of the hub carrier and manoeuvre it, and use the jack to line it up. If you can even get the smallest amount of the thread through into the metal of the arm, it will then screw in. You can just screw the other end with the socket set, and it will come through, and it doesn't seem to damage the threads. You can put the nut on then and tighten it up to the right torque, and then this is all done. So we're going to move on to the front ones now.